Hello Internet! So nice to see you! Probably the most common chord progression in all kinds of music is the resolution of the fifth chord of the key to the first chord of the key. In C major this is G7 to C, and in C minor this is G7 to C minor. You probably heard this chord progression forever. Well, let's see a few ways to spice up this chord progression and make it sound much better than that. Before we start, we need to establish a little bit of vocabulary. Whenever you play a chord, you are technically playing an upper structure on top of a bass. Bass in this case refer only to the lowest note of the chord you're playing, and upper structure refers to all the other notes but the lowest note you're playing. So if I'm playing C major this way, the bass is the lowest C I'm playing, and the upper structure are the other notes. Way number 1 to spice up the 5-to-1 chord progression: resolve one or more of the upper structure notes and keep the other notes the same, and only at the end move the C chord. Oh, what does that mean? Well, it's simple. Let's first play a G7. Let's resolve the F down to E, and only then play a C major. Or you can resolve the B note of the G chord up to C and leave everything else the same. The same works, of course, in C minor. The original chord progression is G7 C minor. First, let's resolve down the F to an E flat. Or we can resolve the B note in G7 up to C. So you see, we just add this intermediate mixed chord, which is partly G7 and part C or C minor, and it gives us a little bit of tension before we go to the final chord. Way number 2, resolve the bass of the chord but keep the upper structure the same. How do we do that? In C major, we have G7C again. So the idea is to play first G7, then play G7 but with a bass of C, and then finally playing C. That's how it sounds. The same will work in C minor. Way number 3 to spice up the 5-to-1. Suspend one note of G7 into C or C minor. This is typically done by holding the F note from G7 into the C chord, so that the whole progression looks like G7, C sus4, C, or G7, C sus4, C minor. First in major, original progression G7, C. This is G7 now, C sus4, C. And in C minor, G7, C minor, G7, C sus4, C minor. So far, we've just seen different ways of mixing this G7 chord and this C or C minor chord to create tense mixed chords that add color when we use them. Let's now see something different. We can use the fourth chord of the key in second inversion. What is that? In C major, the idea is to play first G7, then the fourth chord of the key in second inversion, which is F with a bass of C, followed by C. That's how it sounds. In C minor, the original progression is G7, C minor. Now we have to use the F minor with a bass of C because the fourth chord in C minor is F minor. So now I have G7, F minor with a bass of C, C minor. If we want to be smart, we can also use the F minor chord into the C major key. So in C major, we have G7, F minor with a bass of C, and then end on C. which to my ear sounds great. Those are just a few simple ways to make the 5-to-1 chord progression more interesting when you play it. We could do much more. We could, for instance, alter the G7 chord to contain different kinds of notes that create interesting tensions and that resolve in an interesting way. If you want to know more about all that, I do recommend my course Complete Chord Mastery, which is a complete video course and not just a book that leads you step by step through those and many other options to create interesting and very nice chord progressions that you can use in your music. We work on how to build chords, how to play them on guitar, how to put them together into progressions, how to connect them so they sound good, and finally how to use all the knowledge you got to create actual guitar music. This is not just a theory course, it contains a lot of application that you can reuse directly into your songs. If you like this video, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe and click on notification so that YouTube will notify you every time I put up a new video. If you have any questions, comment, feedback, please write them down in the comments. I do want to hear from you. I read all the comments, and if you have questions, I will do videos about it. This is Tommaso Zilli of musictheoryforguitar.com. And until next time, enjoy.